Good evening, everyone. This is Council President Catchman. It's Wednesday, April 27th, 2022 at 7:16. And I now open the Committee of the Whole, and we'll start with the roll call.
Obi,
Here.
Ellis,
Here.
Rancy,
Here.
Gaken,
Here.
Catchman,
Here.
Lawrence,
Here.
Mackey, Morrison,
Here.
Bertini,
Here.
Ross,
Here.
Shaw, here, Taylor,
Here.
Shay.
Here.
Tonight, we do have a guest speaker. We have a representative from Cabot Dow here to present the salary study presentation. Alexandra, that's
Okay.
good. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you. Good evening, Council. My name is Alexandra Sheeks. I'm with Cabot Dow Associates. We have worked with the city since fall of 2021 on a total compensation study of non-represented positions. And I'm here to present that study to you tonight. And I understand it's in the agenda packet for you to review. As I mentioned, we began the study in fall of 2021, and it was for non-represented employees. So any of the represented employees were not included in the study at that time. And for that study, we reviewed the job descriptions, we reviewed the city's personnel policies, we reviewed salaries and benefits, and all of the things that go into compensation policy for the city of Aberdeen, and use that as background for our study and survey. We selected a market sample of 11 agencies. Those include mostly cities with a population and assessed value of 50% below or above the city of Aberdeen. We also included Grays Harbor County due to proximity, as far as a similar employer. All of these practices are very common within public compensation policy and practice. And so this is the model that we followed for this particular study. It also included a total compensation model. And by that, we mean all of those other compensation items, including salary. So we talked about deferred compensation contributions, paid leave, and all of those other things, healthcare, insurance contributions, all those other things that go into compensation, not just salaries. And so you will see in the report, there are reports for each individual position within the city that is non-represented, of course. And oftentimes questions come up where an employee says, well, that's my position, but I don't have that much vacation time, or I don't, the city is not providing that amount of money for my insurance benefits. And it's supposed to be a model. So it's not any particular position of any specific individual, but it's simply a model of a typical employee with a tenure of 10 years. And we looked at the average tenure of employees, and it was 10 years. And so we selected that particular profile. As you have seen in the report, the summary was that the results were an average of 6% under the market in salary alone. And so again, that is on average, not every position was under the market. However, when considering total compensation, that brought all of the positions within line in the market. And so it was actually slightly over the market. In compensation practice, we typically use a range of say 5 to 10% within the market, above or below a particular market median, to say something is within range of the market. So there's a little bit of give in there depending on the city's particular policy. So we originally presented this the study to city management staff. We provided a salary schedule with minimal changes, And so that we only adjusted positions in a recommended salary schedule that were only significantly outside of the market. After discussing this with city management staff, it was felt that because of some of the unique challenges that the city has, because of the way that many cities do offer compensation, that we should instead look at salaries alone. Another reason for this is that deferred compensation, which is relatively high for the city of Aberdeen, given your comparable agencies, is a voluntary benefit. So in other words, employees have to choose to participate in that particular benefit in order to receive the additional compensation benefit from the city. And so it was felt that that wasn't maybe appropriate to include those in the salary recommendations. So we went back and created a revised salary schedule that takes the highest step of the salary range and has that matching the market median of the high point of the salary range. So it's not, all of those terms can be a little bit confusing, but what that basically means is that we're looking at the high end of the salary range for all of those comparable agencies. We're looking at the top steps of the salary range, taking the median of all of those comparable agencies, setting the city's top salary step of the range to that point, and then calculating all of the corresponding steps with that. Doing that particular method of compensation setting is very common for cities. This is what most cities, I would say, really do, is they look at the top step and then set it to the median of the top step in the market. It's not saying that we're going to be, at the 90th percentile of the market. It's saying we're at the median of the market at the top step of the salary range. So that's what that means. And then we did a couple of things with the salary schedule as well. And we mentioned banding in the salary schedule. What that simply means is placing similar positions together where it makes sense with the market, where it makes sense mathematically. And then the reason that we do that is to preserve some of the internal parity with different positions, like positions with similar duties and responsibilities within the organization. And the city did assist us with that to kind of give us guidance about organizational structure and what would make sense for those cities. We balanced that with what's happening in the market as well. And that's how we arrived at that particular salary schedule. And so that is a summary of what is being presented to you tonight. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that.
Questions from city council members? Well, I had a
Councilmember
question.
Shaw has a question.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I was curious about why it was one or the other in terms of the results. If your initial salary survey done the way that you thought it should be done was presented with minimum changes, and then we directed otherwise, is there a middle ground somewhere? Because is there somewhere, I mean, if we were competitive based on your initial findings, and then now we're not competitive based on the way you were redirected to do the study, is there another way we should be possibly looking at asking for some information? Because, we're all new to this. This is.
There are endless possibilities, really. It depends upon the city's compensation policy and where you want to be in terms of compensation, compared to the market. So there's two different ways of looking at it. You are competitive in terms of total compensation. So again, taking salary, healthcare benefits, deferred compensation, all of that into account, but you are not competitive with salaries alone. Most cities, I will say, tend to look at salaries alone because that's kind of the big headline, when somebody is looking for a job, when you're advertising, when somebody's considering a job, that's the number one thing that is looked at. However, in our professional opinion, we feel that it's important to also consider total compensation from a fiscal standpoint. And so our background at Cabot Dow Associates is heavily involved in labor negotiations, where total compensation is a big factor in negotiations and setting compensation packages. So we do bring that background. We bring, we bring both of an awareness of the need to attract high performing employees and retain them, as well as minding the city's fiscal policy. So it really is a balancing act. So there are a myriad, a number of different ways to set the salaries and compensation for the city. So these are two options. It's really a policy decision for the city to make. We view our role as being descriptive in this particular study. We say, here's what the market says. Depending on where you want to be, what your policy, what your philosophy is, this is what it would look like. It's really up to the city to determine, what's important as far as our fiscal resources, what's important as far as attracting quality employees. What does it mean for us as a city to compensate the people that work here and serve our citizens. So that's kind of that balancing act. Compensation is truly an art.
I had a question regarding, it says in paragraph 2 that we were 6% below the market median at the maximum of the salary scale, and how I'm familiar with looking at scales and hiring people is looking at more of a midpoint and being within a certain percentage of that midpoint. So I was wondering, first of all, why the focus was around maximum. I think you touched on it, but I'd love for you to say it again, and it'll probably stick with me this time. And then also when I was looking at the data from the maximum, the difference was about 6.2%, but when you look at it from more of a middle ground 50%, it's about 2.8%.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you could opine on that as well.
Sure. So a lot of times we set the salary at the maximum of the salary schedule because as you are aware, in public agencies with set step schedules, everybody arrives at the top step at some point or another. And the thing with using the 10-year employee model is that for most city governments, employees who have been there for 10 years have hit the top of the step. And so they're not moving beyond that. That's where the top is. And that's usually where everybody ends up. And so that is kind of a good set point for determining salaries. And I would say the majority of the clients that we work with, that's where they end up, is setting the top step of the salary range to the median top step of the market. We tend to look more at midpoints if we're looking at salary ranges that have open ranges. So in other words, there are no steps and employees are assigned pay increases due, with merit and performance evaluations each year. That's where we tend to look more at the mid-range. But with this type of study and with your type of salary structure, and particularly with your subset of city comparables, setting it at the top step makes the most sense. So that's one reason why we look at the top step of the salary range. And as well, there are different, the ranges themselves can vary as well. So yours is about 22% from the bottom of the salary range to the top. We find variation in the market as much as 30 to 40%, as little as 12 to 15%. Your range was average, so we think it was appropriate given your particular subset of comparable agencies. And then as far as why the difference between the midpoint and the maximum of the salary range, I think that refers to probably just the particular structure of your salaries. You might be starting off with the bottom step of the salary range may be higher or more comparable to the market, but you're not growing as much over the salary range. And so that's why there's the big discrepancy at the top end. But those things all kind of factor in. So we're trying, we try to compare things apples to apples as much as possible. And as I said, in the public sector, ending up at the top step seems to be the most similar across the board.
Thanks for that. Were there other questions from council?
I had another one.
Yes, go ahead.
So thank you. I noticed that at the beginning of the narrative, you spent some time sharing the different cities that you compared us to, but how much weight should we be giving to the overall assessed value of the tax base that, you know, supports salaries? Like, for example, I noticed that we're kind of down at the bottom with an overall tax base of 1 billion, but some of the salaries we're trying to match are paid for in, they might be the same size as us, but they have tax bases of 3 billion or more, which is double and triple ours. So how much weight should we give to, you know, the assessed tax base of the cities we're being compared to?
We try to compare a range. So as I mentioned, it was 50% below, 50% above. We balance that with population. We look at assessed value per assessed value per population as well. So we're trying to balance that, the number of FTEs, the types of services that you provide, whether you provide fire and police, or if your fire is served by a special district and all of that. All of those things are balanced. The use of assessed valuation is well established actually in labor negotiations. It's been established by statute in the SOWs. And so that has been recognized for a long time as an appropriate proxy or measure of a city's fiscal and financial ability to provide and to pay for employees and services. And so that's why we use that. It's kind of an established, tried and true method of getting at that type of measure.
Other questions from council members? If there's anyone on Zoom that has a question, please come off mute and ask it, because it's a little bit difficult to see you. All right, well, I don't think there are any other questions from council tonight. Oh, there is one more question.
Would it be possible for the council to get a copy of the original study that was done?
I'm not sure if Danny can answer this, but that would be up to staff. If you have that available, some of those documents are in draft form. So I don't know, Danny, if you can answer that.
Yeah, I believe I have a copy of the preliminary study in an email. So certainly can get that out to council.
All right, seeing no further questions from council, thank you so much, Alexander, for joining us and for answering all of our questions and running through this and making it sound a little bit easier than how I was reading it to begin with.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item on our agenda tonight is updates from department heads. Do any department heads have any updates to share this evening? I look out in Zoom land and I see Director Barnum.
Thank you, Council President Kochman. I'm going to share my screen. All right, so on the agenda tonight, I have 2 items. The first is the request for council to allow the mayor to sign the engagement agreement with Leapfrog Entertainment. These are entertainers that will be performing at the Splash Festival. We've had them before in the past. They do a great job. We do have money in the Splash budget to pay for the entertainers through our donations and our sponsors. The other item that I have on the agenda is coming through the Public Works Committee. It's an ordinance amendment to the Festivals and Events Code Section 12.72060. This is being brought to the council based on an event that was held last year. The Rain Glow Festival utilizes the alleyways as their event for setting up their worlds, their glow worlds that people can walk through. They also charge an admission for people to be able to attend the glow worlds. Currently, the way that the special events ordinance is written, we do not allow people to charge a fee for people who are holding events on public right-of-ways. So this request is being brought to the council to amend that section, removing that restriction. That way, events like the Rain Glow Festival can utilize the right-of-ways and charge an admission. The admission for events like Rain Glow is part of the income that they generate to help cover the cost of the event. The ordinance amendment was written by our legal staff and reviewed by them. And then a few projects in process, still working with SCJ Alliance on the alternatives analysis for Wilson Creek Bridge, which is the entrance to Morrison Riverfront Park. Continue work with RWD Landscape Architecture on a final design, hopefully, of the proposed RV park. We're having to do one more design survey. We're hoping to use some additional property to increase the number of RV spaces and tent camping spaces that are available. And then as a reminder, we will have the Capital Facilities Plan workshop on Wednesday, May 18th, which Rock Project Management will be in attendance. They are the consultants that the city hired to put together the Capital Facilities Plan, which I emailed out to the council a few days ago. If you did not receive that, please email me and let me know, and I'll send it out to you again. Grant applications. I'm working on a grant application to the Washington State RCO to do repairs to the Sandman Park tennis court. That first application deadline is Tuesday of next week, May 3rd. And then I just have found out today, I'm happy to say that our grant application to the Capital Heritage Grant is going to move to stage 2. So I made it through stage 1. So our next deadline is June 9th. And lastly, we had our Easter egg hunt on April 14th. Even though it was rainy, we still had a great turnout. And I want to thank Twin Star Credit Union, who's been our sponsor each year. And then on Monday, city staff and the Bloom team started placing the flowers in the pots downtown. Next week, we'll be putting all the flowers around City Hall and the police station. And then the week after that, all the hanging baskets will be going up downtown. So spring is around the corner and almost here. And that's all I have, unless anyone had any questions.
Are there questions for Director Barnum? Seeing none, I think you're off the hook.
Thank you.
Other department head updates? Chief Schumate, do you have an update?
I do, if I may. Thank you, Council President Catchman. I just wanted to briefly share, and I did send out to the mayor and city council members with respect to the Aberdeen Police Department 2021 annual report. That should be, if not already, it will be on the department website very soon. There was some minor modifications that needed to be made to the letter actually that I presented. I need to thank, there are several members of the agency that helped put this together, but now retired Wayne Schmidt is the one that really helps facilitate this. And then I need to thank Supervisor Ross Lamke for helping finalize this to get this out. So with that, I know we have a lot on our agenda and executive session. So was there any questions from council as it relates to the report? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Other department head updates? Seeing none, Mayor Shave.
Well, I don't really have much tonight, but I'd certainly like to thank the city staff and the Bloom team for what they're doing, because it already shows and they're just getting started. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thanks, Mayor Shave. Non-standing committee reports, and any council members have anything to share about what they've been working on the last couple of weeks? I see Councilperson Ross.
Thank you, Council President Cashman. So on April 5th, I attended the museum board meeting, and I'm happy to announce that the board has begun working with volunteers to identify and catalog the museum items. And they're also working with city staff on preparations to move items to the new building, which is a process we're going through. Then on April 21st, I attended the Downtown Aberdeen Association Board meeting, and we're getting ready for our spring and summer activities, and I'll have a little bit more information at the next meeting about the dates specific to those coming up. And then that evening, I attended the Council of Governments meeting via Zoom, and their staff has been really busy. They have completed the port recreation plan, and it's been approved, and there's some training coming up on accessible transportation resources for Grays Harbor County, and then also a survey that I'll be sending out some information so that people will have more information on that. So, but their staff's been really busy as well. So things are humming right along in Grays Harbor County and Aberdeen. Thank you.
Are there other council member updates tonight? Councilperson Ellis.
Thank you. Last Friday, I had the pleasure of being an investor at the Aberdeen High School Annual Junior Business Week. And that's where teams of students team up with local business folks who mentor them through the process of forming a company and developing a product, selling it to investors, and the whole process involved in that. And so it was really fun to see what the teams came up with for their products. The winning team came up with a device that skims the water and removes plastics and other garbage items and then turns that into fuel, which was very creative. And then Saturday, I joined a few other council members, and we went on a tour of Public Works facilities with Director Sanger and Mike Randich. And for the first time, I got to see facilities that I've heard about, and got to meet the staff that make those facilities run. Jesse at the solid waste treatment plant and Ryan Libby at the water treatment facility. It was a wonderful day, and I really appreciate the staff who showed up on a Saturday to tour us around. And then I had a Grays Harbor Seaport Board meeting, and the Seaport's looking forward to working with the city to have the Splash Festival festivities at that site all at one place. So there's a lot of coordination going on with city staff, and it sounds like that's going really well. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Other council member updates? I will share that I attended virtually the City of Edmonds council meeting as they were considering an ordinance regarding no camping on public property. And according to what their council members were saying, they face a lot of the similar challenges that we face in Aberdeen, and they have no shelter space within their city limits, but they do have it within the geographical area. And the legal counsel that they were working with on this ordinance believed that if transportation could be provided via bus ticket or some other means by the city, that it could be a possibility to help people find housing outside of city limits. So it'll be interesting to follow what the City of Edmonds is doing, as well as other cities around the state of Washington and other states that are starting to address and come up with some ideas here. The city they did not take a vote on it, City Council, that night, but it sounds like something that they will take up at their next meeting. So lots of good information came out of that. Any other updates from council members? Seeing none, that gets us through the committee of the whole, and I'll hand the meeting over to the mayor.
Thank you. This is Mayor Pete Shaven. It's Wednesday, April 27th, 2022 at 7:45 PM. And I call the Aberdeen City Council meeting to order. Deputy City Clerk, will you please take a roll call?
Obi,
Here.
Ellis,
Here,
Francie,
Here.
Gaken,
Here.
Catchman,
Here.
Lauren,
Here.
Mackey,
Here.
Morrison,
Here.
Pericini,
Here.
Ross,
Here.
Shaw,
Here.
Taylor,
Here.
Shay.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Morrison, would you please lead us in the flag salute? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wonderful job. Thank you.
Mayor Shave, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
I second it.
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any additions or deletions to the meeting? Seeing none, I'll move on to public comments for agenda items only. Is there anyone wishes to speak at the podium on agenda items? Okay, seeing none, I will move on to Finance Committee Chair Report from Councilmember Ellis.
thank you very much, Mayor. The Finance Committee met this evening at 6. And we have no guest speakers, no ordinances or resolutions. We can go right to the approval of expenditures.
Would you like to make a motion?
Oh, yes, excuse me. I move we approve the expenditures as listed by the city clerk.
I second it.
Thank you. Motion is made and seconded to approve the payroll and expenditures. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hey, wait, isn't this a
Excuse
roll
me,
call?
I'm sorry. It's roll call, please.
We like to play this trick every week.
We do it all the time.
Gotcha again. Motion to approve accounts payable in the total amount of $527,817.51 and payroll in the total amount of $104,333.93. Check numbers 25465 through 25467, 77111 through 77114, 77116 through 77141, 77143 through 77252, and wires 1340 through 1342 and 1344 through 1346. Obi,
Yes.
Ellis,
Yes.
Francie,
Yes.
Gaken,
Yes.
Catchman,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Pericini,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Motion approved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we have one report from Finance and the Parks Director recommending the mayor be authorized to sign the engagement agreement with Leapfrog Entertainment, Trevor and Lorena Waters, and Eric Haynes for the Splash Festival performances on July 4th, 2022 in the amount of $1,850. I move we adopt this report.
I second it.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
And no resolutions or ordinances. That's it for the Finance Committee.
Thank you. Public Works Committee Chair report from Councilmember Shaw.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a committee chair report. I was among those that toured the facilities, and I appreciate the comments from other council members about how valuable it was to see how we get rid of our water and how we treat our water. It's pretty amazing work they do, millions of gallons a day. So we'll go straight to reports and communications. We have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the mayor be authorized to sign an agreement with Chehalis Valley Timber in the amount of $291,200. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion?
I would just add, for clarification, we thought we would get, as we budgeted for about $180,000 on this timber sale, and you can see what it came in at. So it looks like it was a good time to move, as was recommended by the forester.
Thank you. We hire Forester Service in combination with Hoquiam
And Montesano.
and Montesano, and they do a spectacular job. They oversee the timber that we own and make recommendations, and it's worked out real well. So this is good news. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2, we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council pass an ordinance vacating the right-of-way of a portion of Pearson Street within Block 1 of the Harbor Heights addition to Aberdeen. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 3, under reports and communication, we have a report from Public Works and the Parks Director recommending that the City Council adopt an ordinance amending the Aberdeen Municipal Code Section 12.72.060 to remove restrictions to charging fees or soliciting donations by sponsors of festival events occurring on city property or right-of-way. I move we adopt this report. A second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion?
For everyone's clarification, this is a report that will is mostly in support of the Rainglow Festival to keep that sustainable and ongoing.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Moving on, Mayor, under ordinances, we have the first reading of Bill number 2202, an ordinance vacating a portion of Pearson Street within Block 1 of the Harbor Heights addition to Aberdeen, Section 4, Township 17 North, Range 9 West. I forget what WM means, so WM. I move we approve the first reading.
Second.
Thank you.
Is it Western Meridian, Wide Meridian, something, I don't know.
I don't know either, and I wish they included an address. It'd be so much easier.
I usually look that up and throw that
Yeah.
in, but I didn't do that tonight, I'm sorry.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt the first reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the first reading, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2, under ordinances, we have the first reading of bill number 2203, an ordinance amending the Aberdeen Municipal Code, section 12.72.060, relating to festival event permits. I move we approve the first reading.
Second.
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to approve the first reading of this bill. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Mayor Shave, that's everything from Public Works.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is Public Safety Committee Chair Report from Councilmember Ross.
Thank you, Mayor Shave. So Public Safety met this evening at 6:30. And I'll start off with the report from the Police Department. Today is Administrative Professionals Day. So Chief Shoemate wanted to shout out to all those people who make our lives go round and round. And they did some things for their administrative professionals and just wanted to say thank you for everything that they do. The annual report has been sent out, and he addressed that earlier in his report to us. As mentioned last week or last meeting, we do have our K-9 officer Brandy Slater and her K-9 partner Zero on the team now, and we're looking forward to great things coming from them. Chief Shoemate wanted to again remind us how busy they've been in the month of April. It's been extremely busy for their staff, and there's been various priority cases that have occurred and many arrests have been made. And some of those cases included the assault, domestic violence arrest for a 40-year-old Aberdeen man who had armed himself with a pistol and threatened family members. And that incident did require closing down a school, putting it in lockdown. There's also, unfortunately, a fatal fire arson investigation that they're still working on. And there was a robbery and kidnapping that they're still working on. Also, the Aberdeen Police Department officers conducted a shoplifting sting at Walmart because there's been a high number of thefts at closing time. And the officers arrested 5 suspects in less than 2 hours for shoplifting and criminal trespass, including a felony order violation. So as you can see, they've been as busy as it's been all year long. It's amazing. This coming Saturday, April 30th, is the Drug Take Back Day, and the APD lobby will be open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for citizens to dispose of any unwanted medications. So I encourage you to take advantage of that. It's a good way to get rid of prescription drugs that you no longer need. And he's pleased to announce on the personnel side that they've hired a new police officer applicant from Dakota Renninger from Montesano, and he'll be starting May 2nd. He's a graduate of Montesano High School and with local family ties, and they're very excited. And along with that, he has also found out that there's another police officer who's planning to announce his retirement effective at the end of June. So it's good that we get some new officers coming on board because more are reaching that retirement age all the time. So moving on to the fire department, they've also been extremely busy. Their biggest one was a fatality fire on April 23rd, and then 200 block of North 8th Street. So also Chief Hubbard had sent to our committee an NFPA report that studied the increase in fires in vacant and abandoned structures. And this study encompasses the years 2011 through 2015, but this is becoming a major problem. And it's just a difficult thing for them to have to deal with. So I sent that on to city council members so that they could read that. I thought it was pretty interesting. So I hope you get a chance to take a look at that. And it seemed like there was another thing that he had mentioned, but anyway, we're moving on to our one agenda item this evening. We have one report. We have a report from Public Safety and the Fire Chief recommending the mayor be authorized to execute the interlocal agreement between the City of Aberdeen and City of Hoquiam for the provision of fire marshal services to the Hoquiam Fire Department. And I move we adopt this report.
I second.
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion?
I'll just
Seeing-
mention that this is, there was an agreement in place from 2018, but due to the, I think it was Matt Miller being promoted, there's been a lot of changes in his job description. So they rewrote the interlocal agreement to match what's really happening now. So this is kind of replacing an existing one that needed updating. So that's it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and that's all from Public Safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Catchman, we have special agenda items.
Yeah, we have a handful of items today to consider. Under reports and communications, we have a report from personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council adopt the job description and create the job classification for the IT Help Desk Technician and authorize advertising to fill the position. I move that we adopt this report.
I second it.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, we have a report from personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council adopt the revised job description for City Administrator and authorize advertising to fill the position. I move that we adopt this report.
Ellis, second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion?
I
Go ahead.
am completely against it. I don't think that we can afford it. I don't think that it's necessary at this time financially. It's not just one position, it's two. And it's over $200,000 a year. And there's no guarantee that we'll be able to afford it the following year. And we do have other priorities like police officers. I think we need to pay them a higher wage so that we can keep them. We want to keep them in Aberdeen. And that's more important to me. And I think to the community. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other discussion? Councilmember Morrison.
I just want to say that I'm absolutely against this. I think it's a wrong priority at the wrong time. I think we would be better served, better equipping our staff, better salarying our staff. I want to see how this amount of money is sustainable over time. Where are we getting that money from? That's my biggest concern.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yes, Councilmember Ellis here.
Okay, thank you.
I would just like to speak in support of adopting this. The money's going to come from various budget categories. So like emergency services, abatement, sewer, water, storm, industrial water, and equipment rental. So those funds will be tapped to provide the salary, which was approved in the budget we set for this year. Over 100 cities in Washington, some as tiny as the town of Friday Harbor with a population of 2,500, Montesano, Colfax, Zillah, Enumclaw, all have city managers, and there's a good reason for that. A good manager can be the best tool that's available to city department heads and the mayor to keep city projects on track and well coordinated, and make sure we are able to apply for all the grant sources that are out there. The wage, the salary that we're offering is certainly competitive with similar cities our size. And business is complicated, a lot more complicated than what it used to be. There's a lot of regulatory requirements, and having a city administrator would be a huge help to the mayor and the city staff. And my battery's about to run low, so I need to plug in. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything for discussion? Go ahead.
I just had a question for Liz. So what you're saying is that the monies that would be paying for this would be coming from, or tapping other resources and tapping other areas of our city. So we would be putting them in a little bit of a bind by pulling money from them to pay for an administrator that we don't really need. I'm just wondering if that's what you were saying.
So yes, the monies will come from these other fund sources, but it's not going to put them in a bind. Most of these funds are doing really well. And I disagree that we don't need a city administrator. I think we need one now more than ever. And I'd be happy to talk with you more about that.
Thank you.
Councilmember Shaw.
Thank you. I would just share that, we were presented a budget last year that didn't have a city administrator in it because the mayor didn't think we could afford it. And the fact that this is even on the agenda tonight should tell us that the mayor has reevaluated his position and actually thinks that this is something he needs. And we put it back in the budget so that the mayor had the ability to change his mind. It's budgeted. But, and regarding the part about 2 positions, we did lay off a clerical position this year that's also funded, that could be reinstated. When we went to contracting for legal, we laid off a full-time clerical person that's still budgeted in legal that could. So these things are budgeted, but also we have been, we've been talking about how are we going to create capacity to not get left behind again when some of this money and grants and these other serious capital needs that we have as we try to fund them. And every time we as a council ask more from our staff, we're told that we don't have the capacity to do more. So this would be and our staff is telling us they need you know, that the mayor is telling us it seems like every meeting that he is stretched to the max. Our staff is stretched to the max, and there is ample evidence that city administrators pay their way. That's why so many cities have them. And I support this 100%. And I think that the mayor, even the fact that it's even on here tells me that the mayor also sees that we're going to get left behind again when all these money from gets freed up, when they get all the rules written on how we're going to access the federal money that's being made available for Build Back Better. We need to be able to go after that money, and right now we don't have the capacity to do that, and this is a way to make sure that we're ready.
Councilmember Morrison.
So I'm actually just curious to hear from the people that would probably most directly be affected by having a city administrator. I'd like to know the opinions of our department heads and mayor. Thank you.
Would you like to comment?
I will start. So Steve Schumate, Chief of Police, obviously for the city of Aberdeen. I appreciate you asking our input, and I guess I'm going to share first that I worked in county government for 29 years, then came to the city of Aberdeen, and working with other department heads was very rewarding in some aspects, but very challenging in other aspects. And I will tell you, while I certainly appreciate, obviously, the former mayor offering me the job and the opportunity to serve as the chief, the mayor is a part-time position. And it was very challenging at times with some now former department heads to work with. And so if you look at it from the business standpoint, the city of Aberdeen is worth, over $1 billion. And the citizens of Aberdeen spend, $53 million on city government. We have a mayor who's the CEO. We have the finance department, which is the CFO. We have department heads who are managers. And then we have, city council members who would be board of directors. We do not have a chief operating officer. And so, the city is paying a lot of money for managers to lead various departments. But if we are not efficient, if we are substandard in our performance, who is it that can help us through those issues? We don't really have that. Now, I got to give Mayor Shea credit. He turned this into a full-time position, but we can't expect that he's going to have the leadership skills when Chief Hubbard and I are going at it because we disagree with certain things to be able to get us on the same page and move forward. Now, I'm happy to report that Chief Hubbard and I don't have those issues, but it's a loss to the city. If they're paying me $140,000 and I'm not doing what I need to do, how does the city get me back on track? How does the city get any department head back on track or address substandard performance and give them the tools to be successful? And while I can't go into the details, prior to me coming on, and then during the last 4 years of me being on, the city's been through some litigation with respect to now former department heads that has cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I guess I look at it a little bit more from a business standpoint. And then also from my standpoint, it would be extremely valuable. With that, it's a lot of money. And so where does that come from? But I will share that, Brian Shea does an exceptional job for the city of Hope of bringing in thousands, if not millions of dollars in grants. Now, obviously, he's wearing a few more hats than a city administrator would be for the city of Aberdeen. But I think there's pretty significant efficiency issues as it relates to the department head group as a team, and the city administrator would benefit us immensely. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other department heads on the Zoom would have any comments? Chief Hubbard, do you have any comments?
Sounds good. So thank you for the opportunity. I echo what Chief Schumate said. I've been a department head since 2012, been involved with the city since too long ago. Here's my observations on the pros and cons of a city administrator. I will tell you, I probably don't need someone to look over my shoulder to run my department, but it would be nice to have someone who is kind of the center point of the department head group so that we're all operating on the same page. But more importantly, what I think what we need, because Steve and I and all the department heads are immersed in the day-to-day operations and trying to look forward to look at contingencies and stuff, but what we need is someone that is looking ahead at grant opportunities, building opportunities, collaboration with surrounding jurisdictions, someone with that strategic overview. We kind of get sucked down into the day-to-day operations and the task level and try as hard as we can to go strategic. The city administrator, in my view, and what would be the biggest benefit is forward-looking, dealing with the state, dealing with the federal, and getting every opportunity we have. That's what I would look for in that position.
Thank you. Any other department heads? I don't see anybody on Zoom coming out, so. I think for me, I've struggled with the cost of a city administrator from day one. And then every time seems like I try to pin it down and give it some serious thought, something pops up. And it's gonna cost this or cost that. And they get sidetracked from the city administrator thoughts to dealing with whatever popped up. And it never seems to end. Monday, it's one thing, Tuesday, it's another, Wednesday, it's another. It just keeps going. I think for me, somebody with management training for personnel, things like that would really help. And then, of course, not to repeat, but what the chiefs have already said about grants and issues like that. But it seems like I get focused on more day-to-day operations than going out and visiting Hoquiam or talking to the mayor of Hoquiam over there, things like that I'd like to do, or going up to the high school and talking with the students up there. It just seems like those things get sidetracked from day-to-day operations. And I could probably go on and on with a lot more, but I don't think I need to. Is there anyone else on the Zoom yet? I see Debbie on there waving.
Thank you. Just briefly, I want to, I guess, second what Chief Shoemate said. And I actually had a community member say the same thing to me a few months back. You know, we're running a $1 billion corporation here, and we need somebody to be in charge. And he said, you know, you've got all the pieces in place, but you need that one person who's overseeing the whole picture. And it really made a lot of sense to me when he said that to me. And I think that's the same thing that Chief Shoemate was trying to say. I strongly, strongly support hiring a city administrator for our city. Thank you.
Councilmember.
The way this has been revised, it gives this person that's appointed the authority over each department head.
That's correct.
I absolutely disagree with that. I think that's too much power for one person that is appointed for a position. Like you're elected. People elected you because they trust you, and this one person might be hired by one mayor, and then the next mayor might not mesh with them. It's a lot of authority for one appointed person over a lot of department heads that know their departments well. And then the money, it's $260,000. It's a lot of money. And benefits, not just, you know, retirement, medical, dental, And our economy is not that great. We don't know whether there's going to be a recession tomorrow. We don't know. That's what it's looking like. And I think we need to be conservative at this point, maybe revisit it in January, see how the economy is looking. Just my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Can we get a roll call vote when we vote?
Yes. Councilmember Couchman, did you have a comment?
Taking over former Councilmember Gordon's comments there with the roll call vote. Thanks for jumping in with that one. I agree with a lot of the sentiments on both sides of this. This is a very expensive thing that we're looking at tonight. And it does give a lot of power to an individual within the city. And for me, I go back and forth, but I feel like this is a much needed position for the city. Council members come and go, mayors come and go. We've had 2 mayors that have taken really hard looks at this from very both different backgrounds and have come to this same conclusion. And I think we need to give that a little bit of weight. And we've heard from some of our chiefs today, and they could use some support with maintaining consistency and direction. So I think I'm going to support this tonight, and I think it makes sense. And we do, when we go through the hiring process, I think we need to take a look and make sure that we are getting the right person on board that fits the best for the city. And so that we know that this is a long-term individual that can work with our department and with our staff and council and community members.
Thank you. Any other comments from anyone? Go ahead.
I just have a question of it. What is the actual hiring process of this person, and what holds them accountable? I mean, who or do we have someone in mind for this position at all from anywhere?
If this is authorized, HR will send out requests for.
We're just hoping that there's a person that knows ours.
Well, it's the same as any request for personnel.
And is it, who decides who's hired?
There'll be
Panel.
well, the last stop is me.
Is you?
That's the last stop, but the person will go through vetting and eventually be interviewed by city staff and council member staff team.
And then the other question I have is sorry, I interrupted you and then I forgot what I was gonna say, so.
Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, the last department head that was hired, you had city staff interview them, and then you had a mayor's panel that included some council members that held a separate interview. And there was a process to discuss the applicants and qualifications. And I believe from there you made a decision, and then it had gone to council.
Yeah, for council approval.
And if it's not the right individual, then I don't see why an offer would be made to somebody that everyone, at least a fair amount of people are in agreement is the right person.
Yeah. So it's a pretty clear procedure. And there won't be anything different about this procedure than, you know.
And I remember now. What other specific duties will they have besides the ones we've already heard described tonight? Besides just the grant writing and just basically holding accountability for other department heads?
I don't know what more to add than what's been written.
Did you see the job description in the packet?
I have, yeah.
I don't have an answer. I don't know what more to add than what's already been written in their job description. Is there any other questions? I don't see anybody on the Zoom. I don't see any more hands up here. All right. Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
Roll call.
A roll call vote, Mayor.
Gotcha again.
Where-
This is tricky. They just requested it.
Oh, that's right, it was requested. You lost me again.
It's past his bedtime.
It
All right,
is.
roll call vote.
I didn't get a nap either.
Obi?
Yes.
Ellis? You're muted, Liz.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Francie?
Yes.
Gaken?
No?
Catchman?
Yes.
Lawrence?
No.
Mackey?
Yes.
Morrison?
No.
Fairchiनी?
No.
Ross?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Taylor?
No.
Motion approved, 7-5, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Item number 3 is a report from Personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council adopt the recommendation of the advancement in the paid leave schedule for 40 hours of sick and 40 hours of vacation leave for Jesse Moniger, effective March 14th, 2022. I move we accept this report and regrets if I said his name wrong.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
And next up is a report from Personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council adopt the salary adjustment recommendations from the Cabot Dow salary study. I'm going to make a motion that we table this report tonight.
I second that.
Motion was made and seconded to table this report.
And if I may explain why I made the motion to table, a lot of information was presented tonight, and as a council member, I find it difficult to hear a presentation on a report with a magnitude like this without having the opportunity to contemplate that a little bit. And furthermore, there was a request from a council member to see a draft report that hasn't been able to, that obviously we can't see during the meeting. So I would just like to request one council meeting so that we could look through those 2 items.
Any other discussion? Motion was made and seconded to adopt this, to table this report. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Yay.
I counted 2 nays, so the motion carries. This matter is tabled.
And under ordinances, it's our 3rd reading and adoption of bill number 22-01, an ordinance relating to the use of consumer fireworks, amending section 8.04.180 of the Aberdeen Municipal Code and adding a new section 8.04.330 to the Aberdeen Municipal Code and providing an effective date. I move we accept the 3rd reading and place this bill in final passage.
I second it.
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to accept the 3rd reading and put this bill in final passage. This is a roll call vote.
Discussion.
I was so anxious to get it right this time on the roll call vote. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Obi?
Yes.
Ellis?
Yes.
Francie?
Yes.
Gaken?
Yes.
Catchman?
Yes.
Lawrence?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Morrison?
Yes.
Fairchiní?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Motion approved, Mr. Mayor. This will be ordinance 6681.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
I'll move on to public comments now. Anything the public wants to make a comment about at the podium? For 3 minutes. You have your timer. Gonna paint.
Hi, Steve Haywood, Ward 4. This is my good friend Violet Morrison. What I have in front of me is 2,500 needles. Too bad the rest of the council couldn't come to the meeting in person. I know Deborah Ross is not feeling well. My representation is not here at this meeting because they don't want to come to an open public meeting. Fine. We'll get back to the needles anyway. Excuse me, I'm talking.
Well, we don't call out the council members. If they're here on Zoom, they're here.
During my comment period, you shouldn't interrupt me. Are you gonna add time now?
No.
Thank you. Anyway, I picked up these needles right behind Walmart. Took me about 20 minutes today. There's 6 of them in there. Bunch of end caps. Took them about a month and a half to pick up 2,500 needles. That's about 400 needles per week extra. This is supposed to be a 1-for-1 exchange. Why are there so many extra needles here? And why do people go in there and walk out of there every week with thousands of needles to find them laying on the ground? It's really sad. Okay, on to another topic. Whose idea was it to move the camp back down by the tracks, even closer to the tracks than it was originally down by the river? That's really sad. I went there. I came down South 8th Street, I believe it is, went across the tracks, hung a left to go toward F Street, could barely get through there. Can a fire truck get through there? I really doubt it. People are lined up. People are sitting up on the tracks. It was reported that people are dancing along the tracks, walking to Walmart over the bridge. One person was seen shooting up. After he got done shooting out, he sprawled along the tracks and laid there for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes or so.
40
but
seconds.
I think you need to check to see if that a fire truck can fit through there.
Thank you.
Oh, and these are yours, by the way. They were found on city property, so I'm just giving them back to the city.
Hi, my name is Violet Morrison. I live in Ward 1. I started helping my town a couple of years ago by picking up trash and needles with my mom and our friends. I love Aberdeen so much, but I am so tired of seeing these things. Everyone is not safe. I hope that you can help our city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public want to come to the podium for comments? You have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Brandy Manerick. I'm from Central Park. Is that a ward? So, but I'm from Lady Washington, and we were gonna do the proclamation tonight. I just wanted to check on that.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we are honoring one of our longtime volunteers tonight. We did it last night at our board meeting as well. And I just want to personally say he has done so much for this community and for the Seaport and for Lady Washington. He shows up 5 to 6 days a week. He has saved us probably $500,000 since he's been volunteering. And we just wanted to make sure that people were aware and we could recognize him. And Lady Washington will be here for the full month of July. So we look forward to partnering with you on Splash and a bunch of other events coming up. And with that, thanks for having us tonight.
Thank you. Brandy, if we want to become a member of the team over there or just bring our money over and donate or become a member that way,
Yeah.
What,
so you
what,
can-
how can we do that?
You can do it on our website, historicalseaport.org, but we could also use volunteers desperately. We're doing a new community event center, and we have a staff of me and 3 part-time people building this whole thing that we're opening this summer. So help, painting, landscaping, whatever you want. We do every Saturday, starting a week from Saturday, 10 to 3. So just come on down, and we would love to have you.
Thank you. Anyone else have public comments? Want to come up to the podium? Okay, seeing none, I will move to council comments.
Mayor Shave? Mayor Shave?
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
aware of, it's John Mackey. I'm aware of a letter that was written to the city about, for this comment period. And it's in our emails, so I was just wondering why that wasn't read.
We announced at last meeting that we would not be reading
Oh, okay, I
any
missed
further,
that.
that they
I'm
would come
sorry.
to the meeting and speak.
Okay, I will take care of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sorry.
I'm gonna move on to council comments, and I'm gonna go get the proclamation while we're doing that. So go ahead.
What's, I don't know. Come on, Deanna. We need you.
I have a brief comment.
Go
Go
ahead.
for it.
On Saturday, April 30th, the Grace Harbor Stream Team will be doing a cleanup of Fry Creek. If you want to come help clean up the streams, meet them at the Dollar Tree parking lot at about 10 a.m. All right, thank you.
While the mayor's getting set up, I will share that Aberdeen Rotary did a cleanup of the Rotary Log Pavilion for Earth Day last Saturday. And there were over $1,000 purchased in new plants. And we filled up both dumpsters behind the log pavilion with landscaping stuff and garbage. And a special thank you to Councilmember Francie, who lent us some things to pick up garbage with as well. And the before and after pictures are really cool to see what was done in just about 2.5 hours.
Okay. Anyone else?
I got just a little information to inform all of you that on May 22nd will be the opening day of the downtown Sunday Farmers Market. So we do have that to look forward to. And it'll be held every Sunday through, I believe it's extending to the beginning of October. So there's that.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I don't see anybody, so I'll move on to, or I'll back up to proclamations. And I'll read this proclamation. Whereas since the early days of our nation, volunteers have played a vital role in our greatest challenges and triumphs, from patriots who fought for our freedoms to men and women who support our country in time of war and peace, to neighbors who come to the aid of their neighbors, and to individuals who contribute to civic organizations, schools, and places of worship. Whereas volunteer service not only plays an integral role, but a critical role in helping to address the needs of great nations down to the needs of small towns and cities. And whereas volunteer service is an effective strategy to help unite communities while addressing critical unmet needs, and whereas Richard Toy is one such volunteer who has selflessly devoted years of full-time service through volunteering, such as supplying his own fuel and resources to help the Grace Harbor Historical Seaport Authority a public development authority chartered by the city of Aberdeen. And whereas his selfless acts over the last 9 years alone have saved the seaport, home of the Lady Washington, the official ship of the state of Washington, an estimated $350,000. And whereas it is important to honor those who give themselves for the betterment of their communities. Now I, therefore, Pete Shave, Mayor of the City of Aberdeen, do hereby acknowledge and recognize Richard Toy for his many years of service to the seaport. Confirmed this day, the 27th day of April, 2022. Thank you very much, sir. He was always Dick to me. When I seen Richard written down, I thought, oh, that's Dick Toy. I think I first met you, Dick, when we bought an old box van and I painted it up for Sunrise Glass, and it had a pretty wore out 6-cylinder engine in it. And I don't know, about halfway back from Westport one day, it started smoking like a banshee. Dick came to the rescue and put a good engine in it for us. Stories. Okay, we went through everything on the agenda. We have an executive session that we're going to be recessing to. And
Do you want me to go through that?
sure, you can. do
Okay.
it.
I will make a motion that we recess into executive session for 1 hour to consider the selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of an increased price. Action is not anticipated after the meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to recess to executive session for 1 hour. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We are in recess.
Oh my God.
For the record, the executive session's only gonna recess for a half hour.
At 9:20.
We'll reconvene at 9:20.
Okay.
So everybody, let's go.
Okay. What'd they say? At this time, we're extending our executive session for 5 minutes. We'll reconvene at 9:25. They're extending it for 5 more minutes?
Becca,
The Edmond City Council. We got 1 more minute. It's 9:23.
Oh. Did we bring any entertainment for our 2 minutes?
I thought you were gonna sing the Star Spangled Banner for us.
Did you practice yesterday?
I don't know if that clock is right. Might be slow.
It's 9:24.
I vote for,
Do it
fast.
I brought entertainment. I'll do the opposite backwards.
I think the chief gave the nod.
Okay, is there a motion to reconvene?
So moved.
I second it.
I second.
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to reconvene from recess. It's 9:25 and We are reconvened.
Councilmember Ross.
Mayor
Councilmember
Shave, I
Ross,
move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
motion was made and seconded to adjourn the meeting. If there's no objection, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.